Nutrition challenge. So tonight, this is just a nutrition talk, which, you know, we can cover a lot of subjects. We can also answer questions, things like that, to the best of my ability. And then we also want to utilize this as a kickoff for the 30-day nutrition challenge for whoever chooses to do that. So we have our boot campers, which we do that every time, give them the choice to do that. And then we have all the regular members who, you know, may want to do it for the first time, or who may need a little motivational boost of some sort, and you know, help those people as well. While I'm on that subject, there was a number of people who said they couldn't make it tonight and who do want to do the 30-day challenge, so we're going to try to tape it. I honestly don't know how long it takes to get it up on the website, but you know, people could go there and have a look. So if there's friends or people, they can go there and have a look and still get the information and help them to start. So so that's that. I want to just start talking about food. There's a lot of subjects I'd like to hit. There's no doubt I'll probably ramble all over the place, but the point is we'll get some information for those who want it, and for those who want to do the 30-day nutrition challenge. I really want to say whole 30, but we're going to, you know, alter it a little bit. You guys will be good to go as well. For those people, just while I'm on the subject, anyone starting the nutrition challenge that is a member here, we will get evals before your classes on Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, the earliest we can. We'll just get those evals done as you come in, and we'll do that again at the end. So, and then it starts Monday. So it gives people time to shop on the weekend, no pressure, shop and throw away all the junk in the house and start fresh on Monday morning. I always wanted to do that for people, help them out.
So you come over and throw away all the junk?
Yeah, we always like, do you need any help? Well, I can be right over and, oh, this has got to go. You know. So I want you to think, if I might kind of like bounce back and forth a little bit. So relative to the 30-day challenge, you need to think about this as a hormonal reset. So that is first and foremost what we're trying to achieve. If I keep saying the whole 30, this is kind of like the basis of what we want to do in our first 30 days. Anyone who wants to do other things, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit when we get a chance. I should talk about that a little bit. There's other things that we can do post that, and there's lots of different things that can work for different people. But initially, we want to get to a baseline. We want to get to a place where our bodies are functioning somewhat normally, and there's really only one way to do that. We need to take out a bunch of things from our typical diet, and we want to eat real food only. And so I usually start out by talking about kind of a history of food, and you guys, some of you have, you know, heard some of this maybe in different talks and different programs. But it's very well accepted that humans are supposed to eat real food. No matter what you believe, we have all been on the planet a long, long time. So if you think about the human organism and what humans ate for a very, very long time, whether you're talking, you know, tens of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, or millions of years, depending on what you believe, it doesn't matter. We've been on the planet a long time. And so if you imagine that we have been on the planet a very long time, and what we do now is a very small chunk of that timeline. It's very, very small. So if you believe, you know, 10,000 years, hundreds of thousands of years, 2 million years, that for the majority of that time, humans ate real food. That means grass-fed meat, fish, things that grow, any plants that are edible, and that's about it. So if you imagine a small group or village of people somewhere out in the woods, on the shore of a lake, in the mountains, wherever, these people have to survive. We're talking pre-grain. So grain has only been around for, farmed grain has only been around for about 10,000 years. So that's a very, very brief time in this timeline. And so if we predate that, people just ate what was available to them, which goes back to, again, grass-fed meat, fish, and things that grow. And that's it. That's really simple. There's no other choices. There's absolutely no choices. I suppose maybe some people ate other people, but we don't want to go there. So that would be like, we don't need to talk about that. So, and all cultures lived near water. So the ocean, if they haven't lived in the ocean, but always, fresh water. So fish was a readily available protein source. Without protein, you die. And so it's just necessary. And then things that grow. So, people are trying to figure out what they can eat, and they're trying to accumulate it, and seasonally, they're trying to do the best they can to gather it and store it. Okay, so if we think about seasons, most of us around here originated from Northern Europe. Northern Europe, like here, is cold. So there's winter. There's winter, spring, summer, fall, and everything that grows is seasonal. The animals are somewhat seasonal. And so even that wasn't absolutely available all the time. And so people would have to gather as much as they can, try to figure out how to keep it and store it as long as possible. And that's limited, because real food, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but if you put an apple, a real apple, on the counter and come back a week later, that thing is shriveling up, because it's real. Now you can put like a bagel, or what are those things that pop out of the toasters, kids eat all the time, Pop-Tarts, yeah. So you could put a Pop-Tart on a counter, and that thing would be there in a million years. It'll just be sitting there pretty much the way it looks. A lot of ice cream that you buy in the grocery store, well, it doesn't melt anymore, because cream used to melt, but it doesn't melt, it just kind of like sit there. And I'm not sure what's in it, like some kind of plastic substance or something, I don't know what. But we generally don't think of ice cream as still sitting there, because we kind of presume it's going to melt. So a lot of our food now isn't really food at all. So those people had to subsist for a very, very long time on only things that were growing and natural. That's what the human organism did for a very, very, very long time. And we survived all that time. In the last 100 years, we are not surviving that well. It's pretty obvious to anyone that pays attention, all kinds of things are getting worse. Cancer, heart disease, diabetes, overweight, obesity, arthritis, ADHD, all kinds of things that we kind of take for granted, they are very much worse. There's lots and lots of statistics. If I had any time today, I would have loved to sit by the computer and gather a whole bunch of statistics and read them all off to you, but I didn't have very much time today. So we all know that those things are getting better, or getting getting larger. And so we can pretty much accept, anyone who pays no attention to food or whatever, we can pretty much accept that lots of things are changing in our society, and then we can quickly find out what it is. So most anybody who pays attention to all this, it's really, really well studied, and it's very well accepted that food is a major source of all our disease kind of problems, and the food that we're eating, or the lack of food that we're eating, the food products that we're eating, are a major cause of it. What do we do the most We breathe all day long, 24 hours a day, and we eat and drink. And so this is what we do. This is what exposes our body to whatever things are going on, whatever elements we're taking in. And so it's what we do the most, it's what accumulates the most. We know that fish now are unsafe because they're eating other fish and accumulating mercury faster and faster and faster. And so it's just a matter of accumulation. And so in some ways, when we think about food, it's so incredibly simple. What should I eat? Well, I read this. This magazine said this. All that kind of thing. It's so incredibly simple. We don't have to read a single study. We don't have to do a single thing. We don't have to listen to anybody. My friend did this, whatever, whatever. Eat real food. If you simply eat real food and nothing else, so many things will resolve themselves. You will feel better, you will live longer. It's just that simple. It's that simple. It's a little more challenging than that in America because we're exposed to all of these things. And so, if we care about our health, if we want to be healthier, more active, happier, living a better life, and living longer, for whatever reason that is, for your children, for your grandchildren, whatever, we need to eat better. It's really, really simple. So in our society, people maybe don't get that, and some people grow up in certain generations, they don't even know what real food is anymore. They really think that Pop-Tarts are breakfast, and that's what everybody eats. And Captain Crunch, or who knows what, is out there. I don't know. So that kind of stuff is destroying us, and it's destroying our kids. I will say this out loud, and then I'll keep talking because you probably won't hate me. As I keep talking, you'll forget to hate me. But if you love your kids, you must learn this stuff. You must enact it, and you have to say no to your kids. If you hate your kids, continue to do what most Americans do. Let them eat whatever they want, never say no, and they will have more disease than we even can imagine. Everything is just exponentially, from a disease state getting worse. I did write down a couple little things. ADD and ADHD has increased 66% in the last 10 years. So one should wonder why that is. We all know that diabetes, prediabetes, overweight and obesity are skyrocketing. There are very young children with diabetes already. There are all kinds of hormonal aspects that are affecting people, and I could, I'd be happy to talk about that, but some of it's a little bit disgusting. But it's a big deal. It happens in real life. And if you go to the mall and you look at everybody walking around, there is hardly anyone that's thin. And that is not because people are lazy or whatever. It's because people are addicted to the food products that we have in our society. One has to remember that giant corporations that produce food products are in the business of making money. That's all that they do. They increase their shareholder equity. That is their goal. So their goal is not to make you healthy. They do not care about that. They do care if they kill you, because that's going to be a problem. So if they kill you right away, that's kind of a problem, and they're not going to sell very well. But if they're going to kill you 25 years from now, that's not an issue at all. Although it's very interesting because the soda industry, there are lawsuits now coming against the soda industry. And so like smoking before, so in smoking, at some point there were so many people dying of cancer, and it was and what it comes down to, it was costing the government a lot of money in healthcare. So suddenly smoking's bad, and then they try to stop smoking, and then tobacco companies actually were successfully sued. So the same thing will happen with soda companies, producers of sugar. It's well known that sugar is a toxin. Some of the things that I say might surprise you, and I don't know, maybe not, you just might think this is some radical dude who's, I don't know what planet he's from, but it's super easy to go home and then just Google it. And there's a lot of garbage on Google, but you know, a lot of this will pop up. It's very well known, but most people don't or aren't really exposed to it. So sometimes it's kind of a steep and harsh learning curve when we talk about some of this stuff. So interesting enough, when we talk about that, so the corporations and so you know that, you probably know that not everybody in the world is really nice, and not everyone in the world cares about you, and if they can make millions and millions of dollars, they probably don't care about you that much. So we know that greed exists, we know that politics exists. There's a lot of situations politically, all kinds of things that have happened and gone on, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but greed and politics, there's a lot of bad things that happen there. And we are told a lot of things that aren't true, and it's killed a lot of people. So, for example, the sugar industry is very big and it made a lot of money back in the day. 100 years ago, we ate 1 pound of sugar per year. So that was before people figured they could make a lot of money producing sugar. And by the way, slaves did most of the work. And so nowadays, today, both children and adults, this is Americans, children and adults, consume 90 to 180 pounds of sugar per year. And then right away people probably think that, yeah, no, that's not possible. But when, after tonight, if you're going to do the 30-day challenge and you're going to start looking at food labels, you're going to see that it's virtually impossible to buy something that doesn't have sugar in it. And sugar is hidden in about 103 different forms, and it's in everything, virtually everything, and virtually every product that you buy. And so, you know, people think, well, that's not really possible because I don't eat that much sugar. It's hidden in all these things. That equates to 1/4 to 1/2 pound of sugar every day, which, if you're not familiar with what that is, it's 30 to 60 teaspoons of sugar every day. So that's the average American. And that is really a lot, and it is well known and accepted that sugar is a toxin. So sugar is not natural. I like to say that cavemen had no sugar. Okay, there's no sugar. Okay, that village that we talked about in the mountains, in the woods, whatever, there's no sugar. There's no simple sugar at all. It doesn't exist. Sugar is manufactured. There was honey, which is pretty sweet, but that's pretty dangerous to get, like in the real world. You don't just buy a jar of it. Like, there's bees there, okay? And they're not happy with you going there. So, yeah, honey certainly was there, but challenging. And then in certain locales, in more tropical locales, there are, you know, some sweeter fruits, you know, like bananas and mango and dates or whatever. And so, by the way, those people grew up for eons there, eating some dates that grew seasonally, or eating some mango that grew seasonally. So we have seasonal food as well, and you know, everything comes from California, Mexico, and whatever, and greenhouses and that. So seasonally here, if you think about what, you know, 10,000 years ago or whatever, so summertime comes, and so you're going, cool, summertime, and so all this stuff is going to grow, and you're like waiting for it, and then, you know, it gets to be late summer, and then something starts to grow, like some, like lettuce or some spinach or who knows what. You can find some broccoli, and okay, well, cool, okay, that's better than what I've not eaten all winter long, and so you got some of that stuff, and then eventually some apples start to grow, and there's some berries, and there's some nuts and seeds, and that's it. Again, and also, by the way, there was no Honeycrisp apples. Okay, Honeycrisp are, does anyone know the correct word? They are
Genetically modified, genetically engineered?
They are, so farmers, I don't know how they take the two little things, but the two little plants, and they are bred. So they are bred to be sweeter and pulpier and bigger and all that kind of stuff. And so yes, genetically modified nowadays and all that kind of stuff too. But like 10,000 years ago, an apple is this little ugly crab apple that you can hardly taste any sweetness from it. a cob of corn, now that we accept that that's a cob of corn, that never existed. Corn is a grass with some seeds on it, and if you've ever seen a picture of like an original cob of corn, it's like a grass with these little ugly seed things coming out of it, and it's been engineered or bred to be more sweet and have more carbohydrate. So that's been bred by humans and farmers to do that. So a lot of people never think about it. They just go to the store and they, whatever. Oh, there's this new brand of apple. So, and they're like twice as much as the sour ones. And they've been bred to be that way, to have more sugar, which we were never intended to have. Okay, so the human body was never intended to have that sugar. Remember, sugar is a toxin. So another interesting thing, so nowadays, you see fields of soybeans everywhere. And so some people tend to think that soy is healthy. Soy is not healthy. So, Asians have been eating it for eons. No, they haven't. Asians do not give unfermented soy to their animals. It has too many phytates, it's hard to digest, it's so poor in that way that it actually takes nutrients from your body to balance out, to sustain it, to be able to digest it. So there's a lot of substances, or like plants and vegetables and things like that have a lot of phytates. They make it very, very difficult to digest, and our body has to balance it. And so soy is one of those. It's well known to be quite bad for you. And 100 years ago, we got 1/3 of an ounce per year of soy oil. Now, if you look at products again, it's everywhere. Today we get 22 pounds of it. It is something we should never eat, and it's in all the products.